Nigeria is trembling tonight. Moments ago, a federal high court delivered the verdict the entire nation has been waiting for. Nnamdi Kanu has been convicted. Shock, anger, and uncertainty explode across the country. This changes everything.
The events of November 20th, 2025 will be remembered as one of the most defining moments in Nigeria's modern political and judicial history. On this day, the Federal High Court in Abuja convicted Nnamdi Kanu, the leader of the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, on several terrorism-related charges. The ruling, delivered under intense security and worldwide attention, immediately unleashed waves of reaction across Nigeria, the African continent, and the global diaspora. For many Nigerians, the name Nnamdi Kanu has become synonymous with polarization. Some see him as a freedom fighter standing against decades of perceived marginalization in the Southeast. Others view him as a dangerous agitator whose directives contributed to violence, the loss of lives, economic paralysis, and profound insecurity across the region. His conviction therefore lands not just as a legal decision, but as a transformative moment for the nation, socially, politically, and emotionally. The court's decision did not come out of nowhere. Kanu's ongoing legal battles stretch back more than a decade, marked by arrests, bail, exile, recapture, and protracted courtroom confrontations. IPOB itself was proscribed by the Nigerian government in 2017, becoming a central point of tension between federal authorities and millions of supporters who insist the group represents peaceful self-determination rather than extremism. This long history set the stage for the dramatic verdict delivered in Abuja. In the courtroom, the air was thick with tension. Security officers filled the space. Observers watched with grave anticipation. Kanu's supporters, who had begun gathering outside the premises as early as dawn, sang, prayed, and waved symbols of the Biafran struggle. Inside, lawyers, journalists, and officials listened quietly as the presiding judge read a decision that would alter the trajectory of national politics. The court concluded that Kanu's public broadcasts, many delivered through online platforms, carried explicit threats and encouraged violent acts. It held that his influence contributed to destruction in the Southeast during repeated sit-at-home orders that shut down businesses, halted transportation, and in several documented cases, led to attacks and loss of life. It also ruled that his role as leader of a proscribed organization and alleged involvement in directing the creation of explosive devices placed him squarely within the confines of terrorism under Nigerian law. In one of the most significant segments of the judgment, the court acknowledged that the right to self-determination is recognized under international frameworks, but insisted that such a right must be pursued without violence, coercion, or actions that threaten national security. The court stated plainly that Kanu used terrorism as a tool to advance political aims, a line that will certainly be quoted in legal and political discussions for years to come. As the ruling was pronounced, the courtroom reacted with a mix of shock, anger, and resignation. Some members of Kanu's team lowered their heads in disbelief. Others began preparing immediate statements condemning the judgment. Outside, the crowd simmered with frustration, chanting slogans and refusing to accept the outcome. Meanwhile, government officials expressed satisfaction, arguing that the decision affirmed the nation's commitment to combating extremist activities and restoring stability in troubled regions. The scheduled sentencing, set for later the same day, adds further weight to the judgment. Nigeria now waits to see how severe the punishment will be, whether the court opts for a lengthy prison term, a life sentence, or a combination of penalties under the Terrorism Prevention Act. Whatever the sentence, it will send ripples across politics, security operations, and public sentiment throughout the country. Reactions across Nigeria were swift and deeply divided. In the Southeast, many of Kanu's supporters described the conviction as unjust, arguing that the government targeted him because he amplified uncomfortable truths. In community after community, the mood swung between grief and fury. Some young people took to social media to express their frustration. Others called for protests, though local leaders urged calm to avoid escalation. At the same time, there were voices, often quieter, but no less significant, from residents of areas affected by violence who expressed relief. For shop owners, transport workers, and families who endured years of forced lockdowns, uncertainty and insecurity, The conviction represents a possible turning point toward peace. Their experiences paint another side of the complex narrative, one where safety and daily survival became hostage to armed enforcers claiming loyalty to the separatist cause. The federal government and its supporters responded to the ruling with a sense of vindication. Many argued that the law had finally addressed actions that contributed to instability and undermined national unity. To them, the verdict represents the state's duty to protect its citizens and uphold the rule of law. Traditional leaders, cultural institutions, and clergy stepped forward to urge restraint across the Southeast. Their messages emphasized that violence or reckless reactions could worsen tensions at a moment when calm is desperately needed. The broader implications of Kanu's conviction stretch far beyond the immediate reactions. It raises significant questions about Nigeria's long-term political trajectory. For one, security operations in the Southeast are likely to intensify, especially targeting armed groups that have claimed loyalty to IPOB and enforced deadly restrictions in past years. Government agencies may view the ruling as legal justification for more aggressive action. The conviction also creates uncertainty within IPOB itself. With Kanu incarcerated and facing a potentially severe sentence, questions emerge about leadership succession, internal direction, and the organization's future strategy. Internal factions could grow stronger as individuals compete for influence, or the group may struggle to maintain cohesion without its central figure. Nigeria's political landscape, with general elections approaching in 2027, will also feel the effects of this moment. Candidates will need to address issues of federalism, regional autonomy, justice reform, and national unity more directly than ever before. Many political observers believe the conviction of such a high-profile separatist leader will shape electoral debates and campaign promises. Internationally, diaspora groups are expected to react strongly. IPOB maintains significant support networks in the United States, the United Kingdom, Canada, and parts of Europe. Human rights organizations may also weigh in, raising concerns about earlier stages of Kanu's detention and trial processes. Nigeria's government will likely face pressure to justify its actions to the global community while defending the legitimacy of the judgment. The case simultaneously highlights the uneasy relationship between the Nigerian state and the concept of self-determination. For decades, discussions surrounding restructuring, decentralization, and ethnic marginalization have simmered. Kanu's movement brought those conversations into sharper focus. Yet the court's conviction underscores a legal boundary. Political aspirations must be pursued without actions considered threatening or violent. This ruling, therefore, becomes a precedent that will influence how future activists, movements, and political groups frame their expressions and strategies. It marks a new legal threshold on the interplay between political dissent and national security. Nnamdi Kanu's legacy, whether celebrated or condemned, remains undeniable. He mobilized one of the largest online separatist movements ever seen in Africa, drawing millions into conversations about identity, governance, and justice. His messaging shaped political consciousness among a generation of young Nigerians and sparked debates that reached global platforms. His critics, however, argue that his rhetoric inflamed divisions, encouraged violence, and deepened insecurity in a region already facing many challenges. His conviction adds another layer to that legacy. It cements him as one of the most consequential political figures of his era, a man whose influence reshaped a national conversation, whose detention captured global attention, and whose trial will be studied for years as a turning point in Nigeria's handling of separatism and national security. As Nigeria waits for the sentencing and the next stages of legal proceedings, the country stands at a crossroads. The coming days will reveal whether protests erupt, whether calm prevails, whether appeals alter the course of the case, and how communities across the Southeast respond emotionally and politically. It will also test the Nigerian government's ability to balance enforcement with reconciliation, security with dialogue, and justice with unity. This moment invites difficult questions. Can the country move toward healing after years of tension? Will political leaders take meaningful steps to address the grievances that fueled separatist sentiments in the first place? Will the conviction bring stability or intensify divisions? And what role will Nnamdi Kanu continue to play in Nigeria's turbulent national narrative? What is certain is that November 20th, 2025 will be remembered as a pivotal day, a day that redefined the balance between state authority and political activism, a day that tested the strength of the judiciary, and a day that reawakened debates about Nigeria's future. The story of Nnamdi Kanu is far from concluded. His conviction is not the end, but the beginning of another chapter, one that will influence politics, security, identity, and national discourse in Nigeria for years to come.